Hi, hello. Welcome to the Griffon Show. Great to have you today with us on Terrific Tuesday. We are in Baton Rouge, Talk 107.3 FM. Appreciate our friends at Talk Radio 107.3 FM, our good friends at Guarantee Broadcast. They got the studio set up. It's kind of cool to be able to come back into a studio and do the program. So I got two producers. Walker, of course, is my real producer, and John's my sometime producer. He's my part-time producer. you got to play with the microphones, don't you? Yeah. Two producers. It takes two to handle one of me. I don't understand that. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe you young guys, it ain't a big deal. All right, but anyway, I appreciate y'all. Anyway, great to have you back with us, 844-766-6607. Of course, always the Matthew James Tax Pro hotline. If you want to be part of the program, you can always email me, moon@moongriffon.com. I don't have a lot of guests this time on the road. I do have Senator Blake Miguez to join us about 9:34 for a few minutes about the campaign, update on the campaign. As you know, all the ones that are running are more than welcome to come on, including Bill Cassidy. I just hadn't got the call yet. I'd like to get him for an hour so we can go over everything, and we're pretty much done. We can move on. So you're running the bill. Senator Cassidy is more than welcome to come on the program. I'll be my usual nice, respectful self. I promise you that. But I'm waiting to hear from him. I just look, I put it out there publicly. We had something set up. They wanted to cut it down to 10 minutes. I can't do that with him. There's too much to cover. So anyway, there's a lot to cover today. As you know, there's many things. Bell Edwards, why do we have to announce we're not running for something? This is the John Bro effect. Where in Louisiana is the only place I know of you got to announce if you're not running for office. Friday we ought to do an open forum edition. If you're not running for office, you better call and announce you're not running. Because if you don't announce you're not running, you're running for office, right? No, seriously, this has been going. John Bro invented this every 4 years. John Bro running for governor had to do a press conference. Well, I'm not running for governor. And so since then, people have this feeling they got to announce they're not running for governor or not running for United States Senate. Now let me give you an example. I got that. Of course, the big case tomorrow with the Supreme Court. But go back and quote Liz on a few things she said. Governor Landry will beef up security for next weekend's big home game with LSU, which is good. This Medicaid thing is part of Obamacare. This is getting out of hand. I want to get on. I want to talk about that again. Of course, the shutdown, what is it, 14 days now? 14, 15 days, something like that. But the good news is that I think all the military is going to be paid, which I think they need to be. What about the other people? I can't worry about everything. The military, to me, is the one that needs to be paid. And so it looks like the Coast Guard is going to be paid. President Trump and Texas is finding money to pay the military because tomorrow is payday. Tomorrow's payday. So I'm just kind of curious to see how. So anyway, I'm loaded up with so many things today. But let's back up. So everybody wants. I've been hearing this 3 months that Democrats want Bell Edwards to run. Bell Edwards is not running unless he finds a back-end situation. Bell Edwards has backed in the governor's race twice. He backed in because Jay Darden and Scott Angel beat up David Vitter. That's how he backed in. He backed in the next time because Eddie Rispone beat the heck out of Ralph Abraham, who didn't have the money. And those people that voted for Abraham, which was 321,000 people. Go look at the numbers. I think I'm right on the numbers. Half of them didn't vote at all, and the other half, some of them voted for Edwards because they didn't like Eddie's tone against deal. So when I say, and he only won by 40,000, and Eddie was not a politician. Man, he had never ran for office before. He almost beat him, lost by 40,000 votes. If all the Ralph Abraham people would not been offended by what Rispone did, Edwards loses. He gets beat. He backed in twice. He was a horrible governor. And I'm gonna go over that in just a second. So they've been trying to get Edwards to run for the United States Senate. I told y'all he can't win that race. You remember when Edwards ran and John Kennedy thought about running, and then Jeff Landry thought about running. Okay, and John backed out, and then Jeff backed out. And John Kennedy couldn't run. He had become a United States senator. He was the popular guy. They had put him on Fox 2,000 times. They built up his name. They wouldn't let John run. The fact is, John probably wanted to run for governor. They didn't let him run. But the media said, oh, they're scared to run. They can't beat him. That was the second run. Then Jeff Landry wanted to run. He would have ran If John would have announced in August, John waited to November, December. So Jeff backed out. He said, I needed that to raise some money. So they said, see, nobody wants to run against the mighty Bill Edwards. And here comes Eddie Rispone, who's never run for it. I know Eddie plays the game behind the scenes. Big Republican, I get that. No cut on him. I'm just telling you. Eddie got within 40,000 votes of Bill because Bill was driving the state into the ground. And he drove it in the ground even more 4 years after that. He backed in twice. I want to write a book, I told you. Two-term governor who backed in twice. That would be Bill Edwards. Now, so I said all that to announce this. So the rumor was that we're trying to get Edwards to run. That was the rumor. Okay? All Edwards do is that all the rumor mill came from people that were close to Edwards saying, yeah, we might talk him into running. And he was never running. He was never going to do that because he has to run as he is, a socialist, Marxist Democrat. That's people that want to cut the private parts off of 10-year-olds. He wanted to do that. That's people that want boys to be in girls' bathrooms. He wanted to do that. He raised $7 billion in taxes. He had them out-migration under Edwards was the biggest out-migration since the 80s. He found no jobs. He did nothing, and I'll get to that in a second. So if these people are running around going, Bill might run, and Bill decides he's not running, which he was never going to run, and he finally tells the people that are spreading the rumors that he's not going to run, why don't those people go spread the rumors now that he's not running and leave it alone? Oh, no. We can't do that in Louisiana. What we have to do is announce we're not running. So if you're not announcing you're not running, it means you're running, right? John, you're running. You're running for office. I've never said you're not running. You running or you're not running? Huh? You don't know yet? That means you're running. Yeah, if you're not running, if you don't announce you're not running. So for some reason, John Breaux invented this, and every elected official's ego is so big, they think they got to announce they're not running for something. Bill Edwards has one of those egos. He's a gigantic ego. So he thinks he's got to announce and put on X that he's not running for office. I knew he wasn't running. He's not going to run in a race he's 100% guaranteed to lose, and he's 100% guaranteed to lose. Former Louisiana governor will not be a candidate for United States Senate seat in 2026. Edwards said this isn't right time is re-enter public office on X. I don't care. Why you got to even announce it? Nobody cares if he's running. Why does he have to announce he's not running for an office he doesn't know? Now, let me tell you what would be big news. If Bill Cassidy came out today as a United States Senator, and everybody knows he's running, and he announced he's not running for the Senate seat, okay, that's news. Bill Edwards not running for the Senate seat is no news. That's like a hurricane. They announced another storm. It's so far out in the Atlantic, it's already turning back. It's not even going to come near us, but they count that as a storm. It don't count. It don't mean anything. If they would not have told us about that storm, we wouldn't have known. We wouldn't have cared. Edwards does not have to announce he's not running because I don't care. Nobody cares if he runs. But his ego's so bad, I better make an announcement because I know how important it is, and I don't want to disappoint people. He thinks that. He was never running, folks. I just find it odd that these narcissists think they got to announce that they're not running for something that they don't own. Like I said, Cassidy, if he would come on the program and announce he's not running, I'd give him a hug. I might even kiss him on the cheek. No, not that cheek, John. Not that cheek. That would be the cheek he might want me to kiss, but I wouldn't do that. So the bottom line is, what is all this we got to announce we're not running for? How many of you people would be shocked if I announced today I'm not running for governor? Would you give a dang if I announced I'm not running for governor? You know what you would think? Well, I wonder why Moon even would say something that's stupid. Why does Bill Edwards say something that's stupid? That he's not running for an office, he's not in office now. Now, if he would have jumped up after his first term as the horrible Democrat governor he was for the state and announced he wasn't running for a second term, that would be news. That would have been news. But him saying he's not running for United States Senate seat, that is not news. It's not even newsworthy. It's not worth the paper it was printed on. Of course, the devil's advocate, my dumb, is talking about it too. Over the last several months, Don and I have fielded calls from people from across Louisiana. How many woke people were calling? So here's my favorite. serving governor as the first lady of the state. Louisiana was an honor of a lifetime. We accomplished so much to rebuild our state because, unlike Washington, D.C., we work with anyone of any political party to put Louisiana first. As a country, the path we're headed down is troubling, to say the least. Why? Because Chuck Schumer's not in charge? Why, Bill? Because Nancy Pelosi's not in charge? You never said that when Joe Biden was the president. He never said that when Barack Obama was the president, that we're headed down the wrong direction. Why did he say it now? He never said that when the illegals were coming across, they were expanding government, all this money they were spending. We headed in the wrong direction now. Never did he say that when Joe Biden was president. By the way, he was governor when Joe Biden was the president. Not one time did he say we were heading in the wrong direction. Tell you, this guy's woke as they come. Anyway, one other thing we get back and we'll take a break. I want to address, we accomplished so much to rebuild our state. I just want to answer that when I get back. Of all the things John Bel Edwards did that you need to be reminded of. And I'll be glad to do it because I am a nice guy. 844-766-6607 is the number. It is a Matthew James Tax Pro hotline. Take a break. Be right back. Announcing we're not running for effing office. Never will understand that. John, do you think it's important to announce that I'm not running for governor, that you're not running for Senate? You didn't have the office anyway. They all do it in Louisiana. People think we go, oh, my God, he's not running. They don't care. He was never running.
But like you said, I think it plays to the ego. Like, hey, just in case anyone's wondering, I'm not running.
Oh, yeah. Well, he does that, and he also gets a little publicity, gets a little paper stuff. Right. But I think he might run for as governor.
You
I
think
won't
so?
be surprised at all.
Really?
But see, as mad as I am at Jeff, I go for Jeff in a second. And I'm going to give you the reasons why when I get back.
Yeah.
Of his real record.
Man.
I lost about 11 pounds.
Come on.
You probably don't know because you don't ever see me.
Huh.
I was 246. I was 235.
Dang.
Well, I went through all my tests. Everything was good. All my blood tests, my sugar level was a touch kicked up. And I'm not diabetic, right. But it was all due to weight for me. Everybody can carry. Like if you, I got heart disease in my family. If you don't have it in your family, you carry better weight than I do. Somebody with heart disease in the family, you can't carry weight.
Man.
Because what it does
I'm
is
way heavier than you then. I'm like 40 pounds heavier than you.
What are you?
I'm like 285.
Yeah, but you may not have diabetic and all that stuff in your family. No, we don't have diabetics. We got heart disease. Yeah. So for me,
it's carried different.
You got to be careful. Yeah. I don't want to go, John. I want to be about between 230 and 235, and I'm right there.
That's a comfortable weight.
And then the second thing I'm doing is all I'm really doing cut out as much sugar as I can. I don't eat no sugar.
Yeah. I need to chill. See, that's my downside.
No,
sugar is
like mine too. You get off sugar, you're gonna be shocked. Sugar's the problem. Yeah. If you get off sugar, if you say, you know what, I'm not gonna touch it. I eat it like I was eating candy and fruit.
I'm the same way. Yeah. Yeah.
I was eating grapes this much.
Yeah.
2 oranges.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like that stuff.
It's sugar. It's not sugar. It's bad. Here's my big problem. I go to Dino's Pizza. You hear Dino's sometimes?
Yeah. I hear him on there.
I go about 3 times a week. It's 7 minutes, 6 minutes from the deal. I go in, I can relax. Yeah. Sit down. They got these little peppermints, these little salt peppermints. Yep. I grab 7, 8 every time I go.
Well, you see what I got in my mouth right now, right?
Peppermint.
That's what I keep. Look, I keep them on.
Think about this though. I eat. If you ate 6 of those 3 times a week. Yeah. That's 18 times 52 weeks. Yeah. That's 1,000 damn peppermints. Man. That ain't nothing but pure sugar. Yeah,
and look, I'm like an old man. I keep candy in my car, like in the. Oh man, I got like the.
But you'll be surprised how much sugar affects weight.
Oh,
Nobody realizes sugar is the weight killer for me. Now, I don't eat a lot of fried foods. I do eat some every now and then, but I don't eat much of that either. And then I lay off as much bread as I can. But like yesterday, I eat bread. I eat bread once every day or two. Yeah. I don't mind eating it, but the sugar is what I found. Sugar change. Lack of sugar would change your life, your weight, everything.
Because the first thing I want to go for, even when I get off, is just something sweet.
Well, you know, like my friend says, you start eating sugar in the morning, it's all you want all day.
Yeah, exactly. So after the show, usually I'm like, man, I want something sweet. I want something just.
Oh, no doubt.
Man, but I know that's my downfall. I know it's tough, man.
What street we on right here, government? do have a lunch deal with advertising, which is awesome. Thank the Lord. They've already booked, but we never did sign them up. Okay. Hey, where is Roof Restaurant? ROUJ. Pull that up for me when you get a chance on your phone. See, ROUJ Restaurant. It's supposed to be a nice, fancy restaurant. Hi, hello. Welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show. We had Guaranteed Broadcasting in Baton Rouge, Talk 107.3 FM. Excuse me. And we'll be here all day. Actually, got a great day lined up in Baton Rouge, so I'm looking forward to it. So, Bell announces he's not running for office. I wish these cocky, big-headed elected officials would quit announcing for stuff. They're not in office. You don't have to announce that you're not running. If you never held office, you don't have to announce. Like, I can. You know what? How many of y'all want me to announce I'm not running for president? United States. Aren't y'all glad to know that? You know that now? Same thing with Bill. So Bill talks about all the great things they've done. First of all, he said we had a $2 billion budget deficit. That was a lie from hell. It was never one. But let's take him granted that he was. Let's give him credit for getting rid of $2 billion budget deficit because he wants to. I tried to argue with the newspaper. They don't listen either. So let's say he did. Let's remember, he was a legislator with Bobby Jindal for 8 years. He was a floor leader for Bobby Jindal on the Democrat side. Nobody wants to talk about the truth. And let's remember, he voted for 6 of the last 7 of Bobby Jindal's budgets. He voted for almost every one of Bobby Jindal's budgets. If there was a $2 billion budget deficit, Bell should be credited with doing it more than Jindal because the legislature votes on a budget and government does. Jobs. We lost jobs. They hemorrhage. Out-migration got worse than it's been since the 80s. People ran out of here. I looked at the census from 2015 to Bell left. They ran out of the state because there were no jobs. He didn't create any jobs. He didn't create any private sector jobs. Nothing. That's a fact. You can get mad at me, but that's a fact. We ran up more debt. That's a fact. That was under Bell Edwards. We ran up a lot more debt. Okay? $7 billion in new taxes. $7 billion in new taxes. That's a fact. Here's one. The only reason we had any money besides the tax increases was floods in 2016 and hurricanes and then COVID. That's why Bell had all the money he needed to run around and say, look what I did for the state. And folks, the fact of the matter is all that money we took is what's hurting us now. The Medicaid increase, he said that was his greatest accomplishment. That's part of Obamacare. We're putting more people on dependency under Bell Edwards. That's a fact. That's who he was. That's who he is. That's going to go away, folks, because the federal government's broke. Okay? We got to understand that. How about, let's see, I wrote some roads. Did we fix any roads? No. The budget, we had a $14 to $13 billion budget, a backlog in roads is $19 to $20 billion now. Bell Edwards did not fix a dang road. None. He didn't do anything, folks. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, surgeries. He vetoed a bill to outlaw surgeries on people under 18 and doing trans surgery on kids under 18. He outlawed. He didn't care if 10-year-olds got whacked. He vetoed a bill. The legislature had to go override him. Number 2, he wanted boys to go in girls' bathrooms. He didn't see anything wrong with that. He vetoed a bill. The legislature had to override him. That's Bell Edwards. That's his record. That's who he is. You got to remember that, folks. I mean, I can go on and on and on to give you Bell's real record. The COVID lockdown. You remember Tony Spell? Everybody tried to say Tony Spell's a nut. He wanted to keep church open during COVID. They put the man in jail. Guess what? He went to the Supreme Court and they said Bell Edwards was wrong what they did to that man. The Supreme Court ruled Bell wrong. He was wrong. The lockdowns, the masks, the dang quarantine, wanted shots for children in schools. This guy was a bad, bad governor. What he accomplished They're going to talk about the budget, but remember, $7 billion in new taxes, scared everybody, same old thing. Hospitals are going to close, same old UE loan crap. He was horrible. You people don't think he was bad for one reason. They had money, because money talks and you know it walks. He is a socialist just like everybody else in the Democrat Party. And he proved it when he proved it. When he said, look, the direction of the country is headed in the wrong direction. But he never said that when Joe Biden was the president. He never said that when he voted and was a delegate for Barack Obama, did he? Oh, but he's pro-life. I like to ask him, do you believe a woman has a right to choose? I'll find out if he's pro-life real quick. Because if you ask him that question, he's not going to answer that. Does a woman have a right to choose? I can see him answer, well, I believe I'm pro-life, but, a woman has a right. No. Answer the question. Folks, he was a failure. Just because money flowed through the state don't mean they flowed for businesses. People left this state. Our kids ran the hell out of here. You can sit around and go around if you're a government worker and say, oh, Bill was this, Bill. Oh, no. I asked my daughter, it wasn't a bad government. It wasn't. And you start listing off all these things. Ronald Greene being killed. He looked the other way till his election was over. I mean, this is the guy right here. Say, well, look at all we did for the state. He crushed the state. And then he turns around and announces he ain't running for another office. I say, thank God he ain't running, but he didn't have to tell me. I knew he wasn't running. Yeah, somebody made a good put. Honor code. Remember when he ran for honor code? There's nothing honorable about all the things I just mentioned. Nothing. Honor code, let's take a break. 844-766-6607. Blake be guest for a few minutes. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. That dude was horrible because we had money flowing in the state. Nobody paid attention. Hi, hello. Welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show, and it's always an honor to be with you around the great state of Louisiana and beyond. 844-766-6607. Matthew James. Tax Pro Hotline. By the way, a quick programming note, too. At 10:06, we're going to jump gears, talk a little LSU football. I got Matt Moscona in the house, and Matt does a great job covering the Tigers. Kind of want to get an update on what he thinks about big game against Vanderbilt this weekend. And if you're not a football guy, hang around. We come back to doing what we do, and I got a lot of stuff to cover today. We are joined by Senator Blake Begas, who wants to be the next United States Senator in the great state of Louisiana. Blake, how's it going? Man, not much. I want to find out what's going on with you. How's the campaign? How's the fundraising and things of that nature, which all that's important when we're talking the campaign. Blake, Senator Blake Miguez, what are people telling you? You out and about, and I know you're raising money, but you're also campaigning. So what are people telling you they want? Give me 2 or 3 things that you're going and people saying, Moon, this is what I know they telling you we got to beat Cassidy, and I think that happens. So, but what are they telling you they want to say? I know the shutdown's probably on everybody's mind as well. Yep. Mm-hmm. Let me ask you a question. Are you concerned? Tomorrow's the big court day, October 15th, with redistricting, which doesn't really phase the Senate race whatsoever. Are you concerned they start changing dates, and are any concern they get away from the closed primary? Because I'm really worried about this, Blake, and I mean this sincerely. And I don't know if you really even thought about it. You just go do whatever the rules are, and I get it. But are you concerned at all, or you think we're going to be in pretty good shape that we'll still have our closed primaries in the spring? Yeah, I was just concerned about them moving back elections too far because now you got to, which has become a sprint now. It becomes a little bit longer election, which in some cases like you, it might be better, it might be good, you might raise more money. I understand that, but that's my concern of that going on. Did not know that. Did not know that. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, if anybody deserves it, he does. Real quick, Blake, give out how to get in touch with you before I let you go. If they want to be involved and find out more about what you do. All right. Got to go. Blake Miguez, Senator Blake Miguez, running for United States Senator. All right, let's take a break. 844-766-6607. We'll take a break and be right back. Yes, I let Blake talk, but I think what happened. It is the Moon Griffon Show. It is always an honor to be with you on the road in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Of course, in conjunction with our good friends at Guaranteed Broadcasting 107.3 FM. One of the things I want to visit about, so everybody is up at the Supreme Court. When I say everybody involved in the case of redistricting. You know what's sad? Had they listened to the good-looking hosts, they would have never even drew the district to begin with. We wouldn't even be in this right now. But Moon, this could make a difference with Section 2 of the voting rights deal. I don't see them touching that, but maybe I'm wrong. Everybody's kind of pumped up. They think they will. Maybe they will. But, you know, we should have never drawn that district is what we should have done. And then now we got redistricting. Now we got closed primaries already set. Qualifying, I think, is in January, and that may go back to whatever. I don't know what they're going to do with all this. Somebody told me they might move it back 30 days. They might move it back next fall. I mean, I think if you start playing with those dates, they may leave the Senate race in the spring because you got spring elections, and just move the House races back because you don't have to redraw a district for the Senate. I get it. Cassidy and them's going to trip out on that. No. We want to run when everybody else runs. There's too many elections. I mean, it's just going to be another court case. So that's why I don't like moving stuff around. It makes me nervous. So, but let's talk about the state's defense. And we're going to talk specifically more about Liz Morrell, Attorney General. You know, as you know, Liz has been on this program 1,000 times. I'm a fan. I like Liz. I like her personally. But when it came to this redistricting, I've been on the other side of it. Now, here's why it frustrates me. When all this was done and we went to the Supreme Court, we had a 3-panel federal judges voted 2-1 that what was drawn was unconstitutional. Then Governor and Liz and even Nancy ran to the Supreme Court and said, no, this is not gerrymandered. This is all based on politics. And look, we don't have enough time anyway. So the courts ruled, well, yeah, you know, you're right. You don't have enough time. And since we made the change in the districting when we didn't have to do it, it was never court ordered. I don't care how many times they say it wasn't court ordered. We had this funny district. So when the Supreme Court would have said, yeah, just use the districts you had we not drawn that district, the old district with Graves in and Cleo Fields out, and they had some adjustments on that. Julia Letlow mostly ran to the northeastern part of the state. That would have been the district. Because that was the only one drawn, and whatever was the last one drawn, signed by the governor, that is your district. So at the time, Liz and them argued that this was political, not gerrymandered. Now, this is what Liz sent out yesterday. She says, our Constitution prohibits the sorting of Americans into voting districts based on the skin of color, and Louisiana wants no part of this aberrant system. Liz, this is the system. This is the system y'all made up. This is the system you came up with. Y'all came up with this. It's a horrible way to do business. The Constitution protected. Then why did y'all come up with it? And why did y'all push it? And why did y'all blame it on the judge? You know, I'm just telling you, it's some doublespeak going on. And I'm going to call it what it is. It's doublespeak. And Liz needs to quit doing that because I think it hurts her. Think about this. Our Constitution prohibits the sorting of America into voting districts based on skin color. And Louisiana wants no part of this system. We have made this argument for years, but the federal courts so far have refused to hear us. So when they forced us to draw a new majority-minority district, and I disagree with her, nobody forced them, folks. I'm telling you, nobody forced them. And Liz ought to quit saying that, too. There was no forced gerrymandered district. I talked to people at the top of this thing closer to her than she knows. There was 3 options. You could have took them, any of them. Don't do anything, which was the Moon Griffon option, which, by the way, was by far the smartest option. There was the option of what they did, which was the dumbest option, which was the dumbest option of all, to make up, blame the courts, and draw a district that was based on a race that gave Cleo Fields the district. I'm sorry. That's what it was. And the other one would have been, she said, we never went to trial. Liz, you didn't go to trial because you drew up another district. And the trial date was March 4th for the other district. Well, that district was no more. I just think there's too much, you know. I want to get her back on to talk about this. I hadn't had a chance to. She says the federal courts refused to hear it. They had a March 4th date set up for us to go make our case. But since we drew the other district earlier that year, we couldn't defend a district that didn't exist anymore. I don't think she can keep. I mean, there's stuff in here that's just a lot of doublespeak. I'd like for us to come explain all this to it. So when they found us to draw a new majority district, we did so under protest and defended it because the Supreme Court backwards presidents permit the district. Folks, I just think there's so much, and I'm telling you, Liz better start to be careful with how she's saying all this stuff. I know she's the Attorney General. She's smarter than me. Everything she said, folks, everything she said was all contradicted in what she said last year. Totally contradicted. Totally against what she said last year. So which one is true? See, if I'm this is just me. Let's say I'm sitting on Supreme Court Justice Moon. Okay? And I'm sitting there. And I sat there and listened to Liz and them argue that we got to do this. We don't have enough time. It was based on politics, not race. Liz is getting bombarded with a lot of questions from me. Well, last time, here's what you said. Now, this time you're saying this. You're blaming the federal judge. Why did you do this when you never ordered? Because a federal judge, a Supreme Court justice, could look at something and say, where's the order? Show me where you were ordered to draw a district that put Cleo fields in there. Folks, there's no order. I'm sticking to my guns because I have the proof behind me. I have the attorneys behind me. I have the proof behind me. There was no order. And here's another thing. If there was an order, don't y'all think we ought to be able to find it? If there was an order, don't you think somebody would come forward and show it to us? I asked Liz 3 weeks ago to send me the order. She told me she was. When she had on her phone, I still hadn't received it. I wonder why. Maybe she didn't have time. Maybe she forgot. Just a dumb guy on the radio. I mean, why give him the order? But don't you think these elected officials have a right to see the order that they voted for? Bo Boye, and I don't have it in front of me, bogus Bo Boye, who was the head of the Government Affairs Committee, said when Beryl Almody asked him, was this a racially gerrymandered order? He said, yes, this was racially gerrymandered and an order from the court. So if you see Bo Boye, tell him, ask Bo if he's ever seen the order. Tell Bo to show you the order that made them draw this district. Folks, they can't produce it because there was no order. It's like the Code Red. Remember the movie? Damn right, ordered the Code Red. If he didn't get him to say that, there was no order. You couldn't find it on a sheet of paper. You can't find it anywhere. You can't go to the law books. You can't find any order. So if there's an order, show us the order. They can't do it, just like a Code Red. They can't do it. So why are we telling the courts that we got forced into something we never got forced into? Wouldn't y'all like to see the order? I would like to see the order, and I'd like to find the order. Okay? I would like to find the order and put it on my Facebook so everybody can see. It's supposed to be public record. It's supposed to be public record, yet nobody in the public seems to be able to find it. They're just, nobody seems to be able to find it. All right. We got to break a little early, so we got to take a break. You listen to Moon Griffon Show, Matt Boscona when we get back. What happens is we still got. I got to listen to I got two producers today. My one back in Lafayette and John. So I got two on this one. See, I lose money when I come here. Hi, hello, welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show. We're on the road. Beautiful Baton Rouge, and with our good friends Guarantee Broadcasting, Talk 107.3 FM. I appreciate them getting the studio designed so we can come in here and just do the program. It's really a neat deal, and I appreciate Gordy and Brian and John and them for doing that. 844-766-6607. Matthew James Tax Pro Hotline. This is the part of the radio program I like, because the guy that started here with me, we kind of started together. He did the smart thing. He went to sports real quick, and I did the dumb thing. I stayed in the political world. His name is Matt Moscona. You know, you laugh it, but we do joke about this.
Man, it's been a long time, Moon. I mean,
15, 20 years?
Longer than that, man.
God.
I was at WIBR back started in May of 2003. When did you start?
I forgot about.
Yeah.
We had a stint at IBR too.
Yeah, so it was that's when we met. Was when you were rolling on IBR, and that had to be 04 in there, 04, 05. It's been 20. It's been 20 years. Yeah.
I was just thinking about Guarantee.
Yeah,
you went all the way back to when it really counted. Yeah, IBR, and they ended up shutting the talk there. But I met a lot of good friends like you, and I'm still good friends with Clay. Clay Young's real good friends.
Clay Young, Ed Buggs was on in the afternoon on that station. Condon was on in the midday. It was a good lineup. It was a good day.
Condon's here now.
Condon's here.
He comes in there every time I come in.
You worked in this business. You worked one place. You worked everywhere. I mean, you've worked with everybody, for everybody throughout the course of the years.
And the thing about it is, Matt, it's always what you're saying. It's always changed, but it's always stayed the same because a lot of the personalities are still around.
Yeah, it's a great place to be, man. A lot of people love to call it home, and we're fortunate to have great people that listen or watch every day.
No doubt about it. His name is Matt Moscona. Matt, website, people can just pick up all your stations on the website.
Yeah, 1045ESPN.com. We also got LouisianaSports.net as well. That's our written word website. It's free, no paywall, no freemium, none of that sort of, no article limits. So you want written content, you get it there. It's got all the links for all our podcasts and everything there too.
I got one fired up question for you.
All right, let's go.
Well, that way, if we're gonna fight, let's get it out the way. Matt's going out of the mood. This ain't a political show today. All right, I hear about elite defenses. Okay, and LSU has been described as elite. Not just you, the media, national people. They've all called it elite. Now you got to explain to me when I think of elite defenses. Back up with me. I think of LSU 9, Alabama 6 at Alabama.
Yeah,
that was elite. Those teams with Kirby Smart, his 2 national championships, that was elite. I don't know. I want you to explain it to me. Why is this considered elite? And if I look at the competition, that's why I don't know yet. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say you might be right. Not just you, Matt, not just you, but you might be right. But why do you think it's elite? Now, they got talent. There's no doubt about that. I won't argue that. But why elite? Because they're getting ready to play some offenses that I think are a lot better than what they've already played. And the one they played got a lot of grounds on them, but once again, the Tigers didn't hold on to the ball. Offense wasn't out there much. So it kind of tell me, because I want to kind of follow that.
Well, I think what you're having here is just an argument of semantics. Elite, dominant, however you want to phrase it.
They're good.
The thing about this LSU defense is you've got pro talent at all 3 levels, and that sometimes you've seen good players. For example, a year ago, LSU was really good at defensive end. Savion Jones, Braden Swinson were really good defensive ends. Whit Weeks was a really good linebacker. Your secondary a year ago, in particular at corner, and it was the worst safety play I've ever seen, was really weak. This is one where you look at all 3 levels, and you're looking at guys that are not just pros that are going to be NFL draft picks. So when you've got NFL talent out there, of course that's going to favor you. And then also what this team has done a good job of is building depth. Particular,
hard to do this day.
Yes,
hard to do.
And what they did was they focused on retention and then adding guys in the portal. Just look at defensive end. You wanted to add Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Jamari Butler. You had Gabe Rutherford coming back, who's outstanding. That allowed you a 4-man rotation where you're always fresh, right? Now, Gabe Rutherford's lost for the season. That's injuries happen. So that's always one of the things that's going to challenge depth. And I think, Moon, that's honestly the biggest difference you're seeing in college football today, why you don't have the super dominant teams. Because, Nick Saban, for all the years he was in Alabama, churning 5-star after 5. He had 5 stars on the 3 deep. Well, those guys don't stay anymore. No. So you may still have great frontline players, but somebody twists an ankle, goes out. How much is the drop off from your 1s or your 2s? I think that's the big difference we see now.
Yeah, and so when you say elite, it's just a different way to say it now.
But I also think there's no dominant team.
But I agree 100%. But if you look at like defense, you mentioned all these guys. I think 3 of those 4 are they 1-year guys.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. So next year you got to redo it again.
Yep.
And I do agree, and I think you're gonna agree with me on this. We're not billing teams like we used to. We're billing a team. We're not billing future teams. We're billing this year, and everything's about this year. And I'm not just talking about LSU. I'm talking about all of them. It's about this year. It's not about next year and the year after, because I think, tell me what's the roster turnover after 2 or 3 years? Ain't it like 50%?
Oh, for sure. Well, even if you look at your high school signing classes, so
does that matter as much?
Well, the numbers right now show that about a quarter of your roster every year turns over. So if you lose a quarter of your signing class after 2 years, half of your high school signing class is gone. So just think, Moon, right now, we've had all this conversation about the LSU offensive line, right, and the challenges they've had. Well, 2 years ago, LSU signed Lance Hurd, who's a 5-star, number 1 offensive lineman out of Neville. He comes here for a year, doesn't play behind Will Campbell, transfers to Tennessee. Well, right now, you'd have Lance Hurd as a 3rd-year player, a redshirt sophomore, replacing Will Campbell. You'd feel much better about that if you had Lance Hurd stick around, but they don't stay. That's the big difference right now.
Yeah, and I remember, and I go back to the Saban years, even LSU or Alabama, he could build that depth, and because every year he would have somebody on one side of the line, or maybe a couple of them that were 5th-year seniors who never started till they were seniors.
Yeah.
That ain't happening.
It's rare that happens. Yeah. I mean, you might see
the money deal is a big deal.
No doubt. Like the Garrett Nussmeier staying, not sitting for 3 years, waiting his turn, finally playing as a 4th-year guy. It's happening right now with Ty Simpson in Tuscaloosa as well, the quarterback there. But those are great outliers. You're just not going to see guys like that stay. So, you asked, does high school recruiting matter as much? Not really. But I would also say, look at what happened with Bryce Underwood. So LSU was all in on Bryce Underwood, number 1 quarterback. Yeah. You have him committed for more than a year. He leaves, but what that did, Moon, is that freed up all that money you had allocated for Underwood and allowed you to go spend in this transfer portal class.
I heard you say that. I heard you say, look, guys, that's the negative. Let's talk about the positive. And the positive you did was what you're saying right now. You had all this money. Now, guess what? We're going to build everything else. And Nussmeier's came back, which is big.
Which I would prefer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you give me the option of a high school quarterback where you're going to take bumps and bruises and lumps, or go in the portal, get a veteran quarterback, and be able to build the rest of your roster, I mean, I'll take what's behind door 2. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather, instead of looking at next year wondering, okay, is Colin Hurley or Michael Van Buren going to be able to play? I'd rather look at the portal and go, where's the 3-year starter who's got 30 games under his belt, who can come in and be a 1-year mercenary?
Yeah, the thing about a freshman, they're freshmen. They have no starts. Picking up a guy with 30, 35 starts, that's big because, like I said, we're not building the program anymore. They're trying to build a program. I'm not saying they're not, but basically you're building a team.
No doubt.
What can we do this year? And with the money that's out there, it's about this year. And that takes me right to LSU because it is about this year. It's about this year for Ole Miss and Bama and everybody else too, but it's about this year. The next 3 games, and you talked in the hall for a few minutes. I said, Matt, this next 3 games, they played who was on the schedule the first 6 games. They're out the way. 6 left. So you're at the midterm. Next 3 games, biggest 3-game stretch on the schedule in my book. Do you see it that way? If you go 3-0, of course you're going to be perfect. But if you go 2-1, you're still pretty good because you got to go to Nashville, and you can talk a little bit about that. But you still got to come on and play in A&M. You describe what's going to happen on that night on Saturday night, especially if they. Then you got to go to Tuscaloosa, which is always tough. But LSU has won there.
I think they need to win the next 2, Moon. I think they've got to get. If you're 7-1 going into your second bye, meaning you win at Vanderbilt this week, you come home and beat A&M. You go into your bye at 7-1, and understanding that benchmark the committee showed a year ago is get to 10-2 in the SEC, and you're going to be in the playoff.
100%.
So that means, look, in November you're going to play Arkansas and Western Kentucky at home. Those should be wins, barring something horrible. Which means you have road games against Bama and Oklahoma. Can you split those? And if you do, then you're 10-2 and you're in. I know a lot of people may roll their eyes because there's a lot of negativity after the Ole Miss game, and I understand that.
Yeah, but that's in the past now. You
no doubt.
Forward.
But every goal that you had at the start of the season is in play.
Good point.
And teams are allowed, I always say this, Moon, in every sport, teams are allowed to improve. Go back to, forget football for a second, go back to LSU baseball. In the first month, 6 weeks of the season this past year, boy, people were crushing the LSU bullpen. People were crushing Chase Shores. I'm like, Chase Shores hadn't thrown a competitive at-bat in 18 months. Like, can we let this guy get on the mound? And by the end of the season, he's untouchable. It's an evolution. College football it's an evolution. It's a 12-game marathon. Keep your goals in sight and keep getting better.
Let's say LSU ends up 10-2, gets in the you can take any SEC team, get into the conference championship. You wonder if it's a plus or minus. But I always said if you put two teams in a SEC championship and one of them loses and gets their third loss, I think they ought to be in the dang playoffs. And the reason for that is look at the 3 losses they may have had. You know, if you lost to Ole Miss and let's say they stay good, you lose to Alabama, they stay good. But you lose to Ole Miss again, whatever. You think 3-loss team Clemson did it last year, but they won their conference.
They won the conference.
So you can't lose 3 games in the conference and get to the conference.
I think the committee is largely gutless, and they're not going to do a challenging thing. I think they're going to look at the path of least resistance, which is who has the best record. Indiana a year ago, 11-1. They played one ranked team. They got blown out by Ohio State. They got in. Why? Because they were 11-1. It's way easier to do that than to try to decide among 9-3 Bama, 9-3 Ole Miss, 9-3 South Carolina. Just put the 11-1 team.
When we were back to 4 teams, they did that with Cincinnati.
Well,
Cincinnati hadn't really played a lot, but they put them in there because I think what grows is social media and media. Got to put this in. Got to give them a chance. That's what it looked like back then. I didn't think Cincinnati was good enough.
Hell no, Cincinnati shouldn't have been in a friggin' 14 playoff. They did the first year of the playoff as well when they had TCU in there. But they had a conundrum because TCU and Baylor had the same record. Baylor had a head-to-head, but everybody liked TCU better. Says, get them both out there and put Ohio State in.
Yeah, but what happened was that was the year that Michigan choked against them. They shouldn't even let them on the field, and Georgia beat them, 700-3?
No, I'm talking about the first year of the playoff in 2014.
Okay, no, I was going to the last time.
No, the TCU thing in 2022. Whatever. They got in. They beat Michigan in the playoff and went to the championship game, and then Georgia beat them 65-7.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever.
That was ugly.
That was a good Georgia team.
Hey, that was one of them teams I was telling you about. That was a good
Georgia team.
Matter of fact, let me take a quick break. I'll come up and wrap up. Let Matt kind of give us what he's hoping for. Matt Moscona. You can check him out, folks. If you can pull up Matt Moscona on Wikipedia or Facebook.
I don't know that I have a Wikipedia, man.
I didn't know I had a Wikipedia. You know I'm worth $12 million and didn't know
Not
it.
a bad.
My wife was excited when she heard about that.
All right, well, you buy him when we go to supper club.
I got it. I told you I'd do that. I couldn't show her the money, so she got mad at me. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. No, I appreciate you. The reason I like Hi, hello. Welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show in Baton Rouge and Talk 107.3 FM. My good friends at Guarantee Broadcasting. It is the Matthew James Tax Pro Hotline. Honored to have Matt Moscona. I've been knowing Matt go back along. And I owe him a supper club, but I got to get the date. See, since he's telling me I'm going to pay him, just go never give him a date.
Hey, man. It's worth $12 million, man. The Moon is worth $12 million.
Checking out his Wikipedia
don't
page.
What I'm going to do, man?
No,
we'll go order a $10,000 bottle of wine at Supper Club.
If I was worth $12 million, I'd let you do it.
I
But I
bet
don't.
you would.
If I could see that money and touch it, I would tell you we're worth that. So check Wikipedia. You might be worth $50 million. You don't even know.
Let's go. I'm here for it.
I bet your bride would be excited. So Matt,
spend it anyway.
let's break down just kind of the rest of the season. What do you think has to happen? What do you think has to improve? And I'm not going to say LSU has to run the table because they don't.
Yeah.
But to win the games they need to win the rest of the year and not go with more than 2 losses, what has to get better? We all know the defense is good, so that just needs to.
Yeah.
By the way, they may get better too.
Sure.
You can get better in defense even though you're pretty good now. What do they have to do? Is it all on the offensive side? Tell me.
I think they have to run the football. They're 100 and I was looking at it last night. I think they're 118th in the country, 115th in the country in rushing offense.
Yep.
I'm not saying, Moon, that they got to be 15th in the country in rushing offense, but you have to at least attempt balance. So here's what I mean. You go play Ole Miss, and I know everybody's looking at the defense in that game. Defense played incredible. They were on the field for 84 snaps and gave up 24 points. Pretty incredible considering. That was a game where LSU threw the ball 34 times, ran it 22. There were only 2 instances in that entire game. Listen to this. Only 2 instances in the entire game where LSU ran the football on consecutive plays. You have to at least attempt to run the football to be able to get good at running the football. So Saturday against South Carolina, 33 passes, 30 runs. Oh, look, they busted a couple of big ones. They averaged 6 yards a carry. They possessed the football. Really good. But for some red zone issues, you beat them 37-10. I mean, you blow them out if you don't turn the ball over in the red zone. So that really is the ticket for LSU. They've got to be able to run the football.
Yeah, but can I ask, why do you think they haven't been able to run the football? I know
think-
you got a new
yeah.
offensive line, but it's got to be reason.
I think it's layered and nuanced. I think, number one, you have an offensive coordinator in Joe Sloan that likes to throw it. You have a veteran quarterback in Garrett Nussmeier
Who can throw
it. A lot of really good receivers. And you have 5 new starters on the offensive line that are probably at this point better pass blockers than run blockers. But Brian Kelly said after Ole Miss that Ole Miss ran drop 8 86% of the snaps. So understand what I'm saying. Ole Miss rush 3, put 8 in coverage, 8.6 out of 10 snaps.
Can I ask you a question? Is
So
that
how
the
in
time?
the
That the time you're supposed to run when they put 3 up in
Right.
the front? I'm
So,
asking.
Isn't that the point?
Yeah.
Like, how in the world, I don't care if it's Joe Montana playing against the Little Giants.
Yeah.
How in the world do you complete passes if you got 4 guys out on routes and they got 8 defensive backs? Every single one of your guys is
but
double
I'm asking
covered.
again. You should run the football
Yes.
on that set to
Yes.
make them start bringing people up.
Yes, you
Okay.
should, Moon.
Okay. No, I'm just.
No, yes,
that's
of
common
course,
sense to me.
of course.
Yeah.
So that's the perplexing thing. Ole Miss is rushing 3 the whole game,
Why do
and
you
you
think-
keep throwing the
My
ball.
question is with these coaches. I'm not talking about LSU, just any of them. Why do you think these coaches can't see, but you can? Or is that something you see after the game, not during the game? I'm asking.
I don't know the answer to that. I think sometimes it's circumstantial. Like, for example, let's say if you have a penalty on first down, you want to run the ball, you get a penalty on first down, now it's 1st and 15, you're behind the sticks, you're thrown into obvious passing downs. Or you have an incomplete pass, it's 3rd and long, and you're in an obvious passing down. So some of that is circumstantial, but that's why it's important to avoid penalties and to stay on time. There's always nuance and context to every answer.
Yeah, it's just so you still think 10-2 make the playoffs. I know that's what you're hoping for, but that's what you feel like they might lose one more game
Listen,
somewhere.
man, here's what I think. I think LSU will beat Vanderbilt this week in Nashville. I think they will come home, and it will be a bat bleep crazy. Can you undefeated top 5 Texas A&M, who everybody here hates,
Yeah.
against 7-1 LSU? That will be peak full throat Tiger Stadium. I know.
By the
listen,
way, LSU might be 6th or 7th, depending on what happens in front of
They'll
them.
be
Tennessee
yeah,
plays,
no doubt.
So you might even be even closer on the ranking.
Tiger Stadium, look, I get it. A lot of people leave early, all that sort of stuff. I'll always say about Tiger Stadium, it is still the biggest, the greatest big game venue anywhere. When a legit opponent's coming in and LSU fans need to rise to the occasion, they will. And if LSU beats Vanderbilt this week, next Saturday against Texas A&M is going to be an epic atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
And I love LSU in that atmosphere.
By the way, it's not just in the stadium. It's outside
Everywhere.
before the game.
Oh, man.
And if you win, it goes into the next day. His name is Matt Moscone. Matt, always a pleasure, man.
All
Good
right,
to see
Moon.
you. Glad you're doing good. You look great.
Thanks, Ben. We'll
All
see
right,
you.
bud. All right, we'll be back. Thank you for coming. Hi, hello, welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show. Always great to be with you. Talk 107.3 FM. I want to thank them. Guaranteed broadcast. We're broadcasting right out of the studio. 844-766-6607 if you want to be part of the program. The Matthew James Tax Pro Hotline. You can always email me, moon@moongriffon.com, moon@moongriffon.com. Anyway, and I talked about it for a second on the redistricting. Let's wait and see what happens. The thing about it is we're not going to really, there's no telling when we're really going to know. We're not going to know until they do we're going to do it tomorrow. They have to hear it tomorrow, and then all of a sudden, and I'm say December we'll probably know something. Hopefully, I had somebody tell me, Moon, what if, they bring these cases out in December and June. What if they wait till June? We got a problem. Oh, by the way, somebody reminded me about Bell, boy. You remember when he was trying to pass $7 billion in taxes? Bell was talking about all he's done for the state. Just want to quote Bell, and the guy reminded me. We could shut LSU football down. He told people that. We're going to shut hospitals. This is what they used to do at UA Long. I forgot. Thank you, sir. I forgot Bell was going to shut LSU football down if they didn't get their taxes passed. And, of course, weak Republicans voted for the bad tax vote. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, but they voted for a bad tax because Bell Edwards told them it was going to shut LSU football down. By the way, folks, Bell Edwards would have a better chance of being impeached and run out of Louisiana before they shut LSU football down. He told everybody that, though. I never forget making fun of that and laughing, but he did say that. All right, let's take a phone call. We will go on the phone, I think, up to Bossier Shreveport area. We'll go to Robert. Robert, welcome to the Moon Griffon Show. This. Mm-hmm. Well, Robert, when they first did this, I am a no party, as you know. I get to vote in a Republican primary, and I say it out loud. I shouldn't get to vote in the Republican primary, but because I can, I am. But I'm telling you now, the problem with and let me just tell you this. I'll tell you where all this came from. I like John Kennedy a lot. He comes on the program, and I'm very grateful. The word I always got from everybody was Kennedy was the one came to the rescue and said, "Look, all these people are going to be upset they don't get to vote." And so John came in. He's a powerful senator. And if Kennedy talks, people listen. So that's kind of where that came from. I thought we should have went statewide officials too as closed primaries. So there's a couple things here, but what happens is what makes me nervous. You start playing with these dates. Nobody, by the way, the same thing I was hollering about. Don't give Cleo Fields a district. You don't have to do it. The judges never ordered to do this district for Cleo Fields. They never had to do it. Don't do anything. The best thing would happen, which they didn't listen to me. Okay, and I was right. Now I'm scared. Well, what scares me is, and I saw Nancy Landry said this, and I don't know if it's true or not, but she said it. She said, you keep playing with these dates. You got to do this conjunction with the federal government. We already got local elections already lined up. You start playing with that stuff, we might end up open primaries one more time. There are people, Cameron Half-Ass Henry, who's the Senate president, that's what he wants. So You start playing with these dates, and they end up with a closed, open primary system like we always had. Now, you may get mad at me for saying this. I'm blaming the Republican elected officials, not Republican Party. There's a difference. Republican elected officials, from the governor down through the Senate and the House, it's their fault if that happens. It's 100% their fault. Yep. Oh, no, I'm glad. Yeah. If you're not telling people in a public, you need to at least go on X or Facebook and tell people you're not running. Because if you're not, then you can end up like Bill Edwards. Then you gotta, if you don't announce it, then you run it. Bill Edwards was never running for the Senate. He was never running for the Senate. He can't win it. He was never running. Yeah, I don't mind. I told him I might open it up Friday, open forum Friday, and everybody tell me, okay, here's my question to you, Mr. Smarty Pants. Why ain't you running? No, why not you running? According to Bill, he's enjoying his grandkids and family, and he wants to reflect on the great things they did in Louisiana. Why you not running? You got to have a reason you're not running. You can't just say you're not running. Probably. If yeah. By by the way, if our state is dumb enough to put that man back in, we deserve everything that he gave us the first time. Our migration cranked back up. He's gonna fight that kids can get their private parts removed. This is who he is. I want everybody to know we know who he is now. Well, he was. Yeah. Somebody. Anyway, thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Robert. Let me move on. To, somebody asked me the other day. Said, "What if he runs against Jeff Landry?" 1,000% behind Jeff Landry. You're not putting this guy back in to go through all this crap again, are you? Oh, no, I mean, I'd rather him than let. Why? Because he had federal money rolling in. Look, the federal government is broke. If the federal government doesn't have any money, and they're not sending it to the states, what do you think Bill Boy's going to do? He don't know anything about creating jobs. He don't know anything about the private sector. He knows about government. He knows about lawsuits. He knows about trial lawyers. That's it. He don't have a clue about private sector and how to create jobs because he didn't do it. He didn't care if our kids left or not. We were 49th in education when he was there for 8 years. 49th. I can go over this again with this record. It's horrible what this man's record is. All we did for the state of Louisiana. Well, people that believe that, they just being politically ignorant. How about that? If you think Bella was great for this state, you're being politically ignorant. And don't take it personal. I mean it. All right, let's take a break. 844-766-6607. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. It's the Matthew James Tax Pro Hotline. Another segment to go. Be cool. Don't go nowhere. You can tell you should have been here when I was with Edwards for 8 years. I was relentless. I've been tough on Jeff on some stuff. Yeah. I didn't stop on him ever. Hi, hello. Welcome back. It is the Moon Griffon Show. Last segment of this hour, 844-766-6607. Matthew James Tax Pro Hotline. Talk 107.3 FM. I want to thank them, John, for sitting in being my second producer today. Somebody just sent this to me. So you understand with the closed primaries, what we did was, by the way, I'm not fussing at Kennedy. Kennedy requested they did it. They also requested that we don't do closed primaries for statewide officials. That wasn't John. It was somebody else. So they changed everything up. But all John was saying, well, look, let these other people vote. And so if you're a no party, like I am, you get to vote a Republican or Democrat. You got to register. Once you register to vote in that particular closed primary, that's how you have to vote in the first one and the second. So if you vote Republican, you got to vote Republican. And a runoff, same thing at the Democrats. It's really not confusing, folks. It's easy. But anyway, Texas. So other states do crazy stuff. You want to know how we get the rhinos. You want to know how we get them? This is how. They're fighting this battle in Texas as we speak. Where the appointed Secretary of State, who was appointed by Greg Abbott, the Republican governor of Texas, has ruled that in the primary election, you can vote in whichever primary you want to, just declaring you don't have to be Republican or no party. You can be any party and vote in their primary in Texas. That don't make any sense. But this is why we get weak Republicans. You know, you look at Murkowski, Senator Murkowski out of Alaska, where they did this choice voting. It's probably one of the dumbest things I can think of. It's dumb as wearing a mask trying to block a virus. It's that dumb. It really is. It's stupid. It's as dumb as telling us that we can't produce in this country unless we do CCS, carbon capture. That's how dumb it is. It's just stupid. So that's why we have the things that we have. That's why it goes the way we do. By the way, good news, Governor Landry orders authorities for security for next LSU home game. This is big, folks. They've been having some problems around the campus. Everybody knows it. I'm not talking about something people hadn't heard about. The safety of people that go to the LSU games have got to be at the very top. And I'm not talking about just LSU fans, whoever's here from another state, another area. We got to do something about this. That's why I was kind of curious if Brian had mentioned that the other day to me, if National Guard being brought in could help. They don't have to come in and mop up the streets. Just come in and help the law enforcement that's there if you got some trouble. But something's got to be done. And the governor jumped up and said, I'm going to take it on he said, I'm going to ask them, issue an order for state and local law enforcement to increase security on the campus next Saturday, which will not be this Saturday, but the Saturday when they play Texas A&M. So I'm glad the governor's stepping up. Somebody needs to. He's probably the best guy to do it to make sure something happens. By the way, Tropical Storm Lorenzo forms. So, I told you all this before. The weather stuff, climate change and all this stuff is so crazy. So they got a storm out there. It's not going to form a hurricane. When I tell you it's closer to Africa than it is the United States. And they show it going up and then back toward Africa. Why is this counted as a storm? This is something if they would have never let us know, nobody in the United States would care about. But they do this because they ain't got nothing to do. They've been waiting for a hurricane to smash the United States all year. They waited last year. I think Florida might have had one or two, and maybe the East Coast a little bit. But we didn't get hit by any really major hurricanes last year. I think I'm right on that. And so far this year, we get into the peak. I mean, we passed the peak. And I'm not saying we won't have a big hurricane in October because we could. And by the way, by me talking about this doesn't jinx us. You people that believe in jinx and superstitions, you don't even talk to me because I don't believe in none of that. But we hadn't had it, and they've been telling us how they're going to get stronger. There's going to be more of them. There's going to be stronger hurricanes. It's going to be way worse than it used to be. And once again, another prediction is being missed bad. I mean, missed really bad. So what they got to do is this really, Justin Mitchell, a staff writer for the Devil's Advocate, Tropical Storm Lorenzo forms expected to make a northeast turn in the Atlantic. They got a picture of it. It don't even come close to us. Why is that wasted paper? You know, that's the reason not to cut a tree down right there. You can laugh. I'm just saying, you don't want to cut a tree down and put that crap in it. But this is exactly what they're doing. One other thing, I was told that there's going to be maybe some kind of announcement about carbon capture. I don't know if it's the governor or whatever. And some people say governor's kind of in a bind because he was against all this before he was for it. But the pressure from some of these local communities against carbon capture and putting it underneath the ground and on their homes has gotten to be really, really big. The problem with the whole thing is the miscommunication by the people that wanted to do this. But the biggest problem is we don't need to spend money on stuff like this. All I'm being told, I told you I've been meeting with people. Every time they want to meet, I'll meet. And the story has changed from day one to today. The story now is if we want to do business in another state, in another country, we have to do carbon capture. We have to. Now, there's no international law saying you have to do this, but it's saying you have to do it. They're telling me that some of these so-called plants that's coming, if they can't do carbon capture and get free money from the federal government, they're not going to come. And that's when people get mad at someone like me and go, yeah, all this business we could be getting, but you don't even want the business to come. Well, I think you still have to have principles in what you do in your economy too. If your economy and these companies are based on federal government money coming in, and the federal government goes broke because it's already $38 trillion in debt, they build a company and then they can't finish it. They start a company and they can't move forward because they depend on the federal government to get them going. That's what's happening in a lot of places. I saw where they wrote an editorial today, strengthening Medicaid will make all of Louisiana stronger. I don't believe that. I think it makes us weaker. It makes us more dependent. Why do you want people to be more dependent? According to this article, in Louisiana, nearly 1 in 3 residents are covered by Medicaid. 1 in 3 residents are covered by Medicaid. 1 in 3 residents now are more dependent on the federal government just to survive. I have never heard one person tell me that being on Medicaid is just great, great health care. It may be. Now, notice that the governor and them are putting more money in Medicaid so people can survive. I get it. But Obamacare caused this destruction and the prices that's being skyrocketing now. Obamacare. Maybe we should get rid of Obamacare. Everybody's seeing their costs rise because of Obamacare. The government, they're showing you what single pay system looks like. It's a dependency, a ration care. You can't depend on it. So Medicaid's in trouble. Mike Johnson said health care needs real reform if Obamacare subsidies were renewed. So now Mike's already talking about renewing subsidies, which is what the Democrats are crying for. I'm telling you, if we don't get away from it, it's going to crush the whole system. Medicaid and Obamacare was designed to crush our healthcare system. Well, I can't believe you said it, because it's true. That's what it was designed for. If it gets crushed, who's going to come to the rescue? The government. Who started this program, Obamacare and Medicaid, the expansion? Government. They caused the problem that's costing us so much. And they're going to be right there saying, hey, let us fix it. You want us to fix the problem that you caused? Why did you cause the problem to begin with? That's what's going to happen with carbon capture, too. Well, we need this money. We can't survive. Well, we don't have it no more. And people are going to trip out. And, I just at this point can't believe what we're doing with government funds all the time. Why do you want to make people dependent on the federal government? That's the worst position to be in. You're never going to prosper depending on the government to give you a check and to give you health care. It's not happening. Everywhere this has been tried has failed. Everywhere. All right. For you people leaving us, God bless. MoonGriffon.com. Listen live. Another hour to go. All right, folks. We're going to take a quick break and have a great day. I want to thank Guarantee for putting up with me, too. So we'll see you later. All right, bro. You telling me to go to that roof?